Here's 10 surprising facts you may not know about the iconic game director Hideo Kojima. You may already know this, but Kojima initially wasn't planning on becoming a game director. Originally, Kojima wanted to become a filmmaker since his family would constantly watch movies while growing up. However, his scripts would be rejected by many film outlets, discouraging him from following his dreams. Until he bought the NES and started to love video games, causing him to be interested in game development. Although he was rejected by multiple game companies at the time, he finally got a job at Konami, leading him to become the director of Metal Gear. Although he didn't become a film director, his favorite movies still influence his works. Without movies, Kojima wouldn't have become a successful game dev and the stealth genre wouldn't have existed. When he was making the first Metal Gear game, the hardware limitations at the time made it impossible to make action games. So he decided to make a stealth game inspired by the 1963 World War II movie, The Great Escape. Kojima wanted to base the game off of the movie by adding the stealth elements as a major part of the game mechanic. Meanwhile, the iconic main character Solid Snake was based off of Snake Plissken from John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Hideo Kojima loves movies, so much so that he stated that he tries to watch at least one movie every day. His top 5 favorite movies include Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, George Miller's Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior, Akira Kurosawa's Heaven and Hell, Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, and Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, all being Hollywood movies except for Heaven and Hell, which is the only film in his list that's Japanese. While growing up, when his family watched the movie, they actually wouldn't let him sleep until the movie was done. As much as he likes movies, Kojima doesn't think a Metal Gear movie is a good idea. During an interview at the Smithsonian Art Museum's Game Fest, the topic of him making movies came up. If he were to make one based on a video game, it would have to be a game that could easily translate into a film. Even though Metal Gear is one of the first games with cinematic elements, Kojima stated that Metal Gear would not make a good movie, since he specifically designed it to be a video game. Kojima hates being called Kojima-San, which roughly translates to Mr. Kojima in English. Instead, Kojima prefers to be called Kojima Kantoku, which literally means Director Kojima. This title is only saved for film directors in Japan, making Kojima the only game director to be called this title. Kojima believes that game directors are in some ways superior to film directors. Even though Kojima was rejected by media outlets, preventing him from becoming a film director, he believes that game directors belong in the same category as they do. Hideo Kojima is friends with many Japanese game directors, but one of the more notable relationships he has is that he's good friends with Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Kirby and the Smash Bros. Series. During the production of Super Smash Bros. Melee, Kojima reached out to Sakurai because he wanted to add Solid Snake to its roster, but due to conflicting development cycles, it never happened. Until 7 years later when Sakurai reached out to Kojima when he was making Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which came out in 2008 with Solid Snake and Shadow Moses being part of the game. In addition to his love for movies, Kojima has also been an avid anime fan. His 1998 game Snatcher was inspired by the anime movie called Akira, which came out in the same year. While Zone of Enders, which is an action mecha game that came out in 2001, was heavily inspired by Neon Genesis Evangelion. With the main character of Zone of Enders, Leo Stenbuck, is referred by fans as not Shinji. The most obvious influence when it comes to being an anime fan is of course Otacon from the Metal Gear Solid series. When it came to developing games, Metal Gear Solid 2 was supposed to be Kojima's last Metal Gear game, but he stated that the dev team had trouble during the development process of Snake Eater. So Kojima decided to come back to finish Metal Gear Solid 3 one last time. Or so he thought. Many fans wanted more answers to many questions after the ending of Snake Eater, questions that Kojima wanted to leave open-ended. But it got so bad that Konami started getting death threats from crazy fans that he was forced to direct Guns of the Patriots to wrap up the Metal Gear saga. In addition to Kojima being a well-known game dev, holding 2 world records for being the most followed game director, he's also a reporter for the Rolling Stone, with his articles focusing on movies and many times how it connects with video games, many of them connecting to his video games of course. Some examples are articles on Logan and how it relates to Metal Gear Solid 4, an article on Kong Skull Island, the live-action Ghost in a Shell, La La Land, and many more. I'll put the links in the description if y'all want to take a look. Kojima has stated that he will never make a movie. Even though he has more than enough resources and connections now compared to when he was still starting out, even receiving many offers to direct films after he split from Konami, Kojima doesn't believe he'll be able to make one because the process of developing a movie and a game is too different. This is because video games can be tens to hundreds of hours long and he can implement everything he wants. Meanwhile, he'll struggle doing the same with 2 to 3 hour long movies. He says that if he were to start making a movie, he'd never be able to finish it because he's too much of a perfectionist. That's 10 surprising facts about Hideo Kojima. Let me know which one of these y'all already knew, and please share and sub for more gaming shit. See you next time!